Oh, divas. I have to tell you first, before we get started with Fri-YAY, I just got to record a studio class masterclass episode with the one and only Francesca Mondanero, and I cannot wait for you to listen to it. So, if you're not listening to the studio class podcast, please get on it wherever you get your podcasts. And I am just so excited for these masterclass episodes. Like, fill up my soul in a way that I didn't know I needed until I have them. So just remember, studio class, podcast, masterclass episodes. I've got one that just came out with Susan Eichhorn Young. It was incredible. There's one that's come Purse, who is just such a just like a rock star, an amazing person to talk to. And all of their wisdom and soak it up, right? I can't be the only one who's getting this much out of it. So with that being said, this is Fri-YAY. Welcome to another edition of Fri-YAY. This is my weekly web series. And today we are taking some wisdom from Dr. John Gottman, who is a relationship psychologist, really, really well known, kind of the foremost relationship psychologist and therapist in working in this field. And you may have bumped into his studies, his thinking along the way. He has an entire institute, the Gottman Institute. And one of the things that I think about regularly in the context of relationships is what John Gottman calls the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I started thinking about, oh, maybe we could talk about the four horsemen of the apocalypse in the context of our relationship with our careers, with our musical, our professionally creative lives, if you will. And so when we're thinking about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, that when Gottman is talking about this, these are the four horsemen. These are the four things that show up that kind of spell the end of a relationship, or what they consider kind of the precursors to divorce, if you will, or the end of a long-term relationship, however you define that. And so the four horsemen, as they see it, are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And this got me thinking about our professionally creative lives. Obviously, this is what we do here on Fri-YAY. And so as I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, these actually kind of show up when these show up in our artistic lives as well, in our musical lives as well. And so when I was thinking about this, I thought, okay, so criticism is more than just having a complaint, right? There's a difference. Criticism is all or nothing thinking, ad hominem attacks. And I want you to be thinking about how this goes beyond. So as a vocalist, this goes beyond my coloratura is not where I want it to be. That's a complaint. That's something that you can work on, right? The criticism side is you'll never be a good singer because you're not a good singer at all because of this thing, or you are not an artist, you don't have the right timbre, you're just these kinds of overarching concepts of criticism, things that you can't fix. And that's what I want to think about, is as we think about the criticism side of this, is really just turning it around in our minds and saying, yes, I have things to work on. I'm always, a lifelong learner, but that doesn't mean that I'm never going to have the career that I want to, or that I'm not the artist that I want to be. I'm always growing and learning. So I want you to take a healthy dose of growth mindset when you're thinking about criticism. If you're engaging with criticism as your go-to for yourself as an artist, that you are really the person who is damaging that relationship with you and your inner artist, right? So thinking about healthy growth mindset, right? Yes, we're approaching challenges in our lives, but doesn't mean that they're insurmountable, right? You might have things that you're working on. You might have something that's not quite where you want it to be, but that means that you can address it. It means that you have the agency to deal with it. And when we're thinking about agency, I also want you to think about your own needs. If you have followed me for a minute, you know I'm obsessed with Marshall Rosenberg and nonviolent communication. And one of the bedrock understandings of nonviolent communication is being able to ascertain your own needs in the situation and not say, you make me feel this way, or these are all things outside of my control. Is, what do I need? What is it that I really need in this situation? And how can I meet my need? Right? So that takes us from criticism, which is, you suck at being a musician, right? To yourself, that nasty internal talk, that nasty negative self-talk, and saying, no, if I have a concern about something, let me address that specific concern. What do I need? How can I provide for that need? Right? And being able to move forward that way. Then we're going to move into the second horseman of the apocalypse here. And this is the biggie, right? If you don't listen to anything else in this video, listen to this one, because contempt is the most dangerous out of the 4 horsemen, according to Gottman and the whole institute that they have. That contempt is the most dangerous of all, because it means that there's just an entire culture of disrespect. There's mocking, there's sarcasm, there's ridicule, there's ultimately in the relationship, the other side is despised and considered worthless. And I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to be really honest with yourself. If you're struggling with this, do you have contempt for your relationship with your music business, with your professionally creative life, for your art making? Do you secretly have contempt for your art making? And if you do, it happens. You can recover from this. It's okay. It happens to lots of people, and that's why we can think about an antidote. It is the most dangerous because it means that you're very far down the path. But when you're thinking about the antidote to contempt, it's about building a culture of respect for your inner artist, or building a culture of respect within yourself for your vision. Coming back to what is my vision as a musician, as an artist, as a writer, as a composer? What is my vision? And deeply, deeply believing in and respecting the place that takes up in the world, is making space for it, right? Not having contempt for your art making in the world is about recognizing that it's worthy and it has a place. There's nobody else that can do what you do. There's nobody else that has the vision that you have that you can bring to the table. The world absolutely needs this. And practicing building that culture of respect, it's about turning that negative self-talk around every single time. It's about writing yourself those love letters to your inner artist, to the vision that you hold, so that any time you're presented with disappointment or a challenge, you don't lose sight of the goal. You don't lose sight of the vision. You say, yes, that didn't work out and it hurt, and I am not lesser of an artist because of it. In fact, I'm even more of an artist because I have even more life experience. I have even more emotional depth to draw from now. It means that I can respect the process that I've gone through to get to this point. So contempt, remember, contempt is that we're trying to build this culture of deep respect, and that you feel like your vision is worthy, that you feel love and care and respect for the vision that you hold. The third horseman of the apocalypse is defensiveness. And so in a relationship, defensiveness is typically a response to criticism. And so you can think about this in your musical self, in your career, in your professionally creative life, that the more you criticize yourself over and over and over, that you're going to be defensive about that. Your inner workings are going to be defensive and try to hold the position. And what happens is that you criticize yourself, and then you're also trying to respond to that. You're fishing for reasons to say, well, I didn't have any agency. I didn't have any choice. I didn't have any, I didn't have any recourse. And I want to be very careful about how I'm saying this, is when we feel as though we are the victim of our circumstances, we are engaging in that defensiveness towards criticism, either external criticism or internal criticism. And I want you to think about how we tend to set this situation up for ourselves as, well, saying, I can't be the artist that I want to be because of this thing. And then saying, well, I couldn't have that because I didn't have these kinds of parents. I didn't have this kind of financial situation. I didn't have this kind of school or education, or I didn't live in this geographic region. And I get it. I get it. There are so many things that are out of our control. Is the thing that I want you to come back to, and this is why I said I want to be very careful about this, is that I want you to come back to where you do have control. That's all I'm talking about here, is not the things that are out of your control, but the things that are inside of your control. Is asking yourself, am I making use of everything that I have control over? Am I making the most out of everything that I have agency around? If you are, then you will not feel defensive. You'll be like, I did everything that I could. That's it. And I made the most with everything that I had, right? Remember that criticism is the thing that leads to defensiveness. So if you are engaging in a ton of inner criticism, of course you're going to be feeling lots of defensiveness. Work on both of those sides, right? Going back to criticism is am I addressing a specific complaint, or am I just heaping ad hominem attacks on my inner artist, right? Am I addressing a specific need? Am I able to meet that need? If you're focusing on, am I able to meet the need here, then you're not going to engage in the side of defensiveness where you're saying, I don't have anything that I need. Nobody's helping me. I'm doing this all by myself. And look at how I'm internally and externally, all of this criticism is landing on me, all of this undue criticism. So that's what I'm trying to come back to. Areas that you if you are getting to that place, even if you love your career and you're where you're burning out and you're shutting down physically and emotionally, there's something in you that believes you're not worthy of having the career that you want, or the musical artistic relationship that you want, without burning out your body, without burning out emotional landscape and your psychological landscape. And that takes some work. And what I want to talk about here is actual self-care. And I think that self-care gets a bad rap because it is always promoted as bubble baths and I don't know, chocolates or something like that. Self-care is is a lot deeper than that. Self-care is about a real understanding of what makes you feel cared for, and then learning how to provide that for yourself in your own life. And that looks like a lot of things, and it looks very different for everybody. And I would like for you to think what actual self-care looks like for you, and not necessarily only the most superficial versions that you might see in commercials, right? Where they're trying to sell you something to help you achieve self-care. So, divas, I'm going to leave that with you today. We talked about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, according to Dr. Gottman: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Your creative lives, are they showing up in your relationship with your inner, with your vision? And if they are, ask yourself, am I able to implement some of these antidotes today? Can I start implementing this as soon as possible, so that away from the edge of the cliff, so to speak, and start to just fall in love again and have that positive, healthy, sustainable relationship and with my vision. With that in mind, you know what I'm going to say is stay sparkly inside and out.